The murder of President John F. Kennedy 50 years ago this month and the death of his assassin, Lee Harvey Oswald, 2 days later, opened the door to a half-century of speculation and conspiracy theories. Oswald was originally arrested for the killing of a police officer shortly before he was also ID'd as the president's killer. Tonight, in a rare interview, we are hearing from the now 93-year-old retired detective who first interrogated Oswald and who was escorting him from the police station when he, too, was gunned down. The police had their man, but in the time it took Jack Ruby to raise a gun from his side...
He had the pistol in his hand and holding it against his leg.
You knew that gun was meant for Oswald at that point?
Oh, yeah.
Lee Harvey Oswald, the president's alleged assassin...
He's been shot.
Was dead. Shot as he was escorted through a crush of police and reporters. He was handcuffed to Dallas police detective Jim Lavelle.
I jerked back on him to pull him behind me. Instead of moving him, I just turned his body a little bit so that instead of hitting him dead center, it hit him about 3 inches to the left of the navel.
You were trying to protect Oswald?
Yeah, I was trying to pull him behind me, but I didn't have any leverage.
There had been phone threats against Oswald.
When I told him I hoped if anybody shot at him, they was as good a shot as he was, meaning, of course, that they'd hit him and not me, he kind of laughed and he said, "Oh, nobody's going to shoot at me."
Detective Lavelle was the last one to talk with Oswald, but in the twists and turns of November 22nd, he was also one of the first. 45 minutes after the president was shot, word came that a Dallas police officer had been shot and killed. The suspect, Lee Harvey Oswald, and Detective Jim Lavelle was assigned the case. Lavelle questioned Oswald, unaware at that moment of his connection to the president's shooting.
I remember a lot about him. He was very calm and collected, just like you and I are sitting here talking. He answered my questions immediately. He didn't answer them truthfully always, but he didn't hesitate to answer any of the questions I asked him.
The suit and Stetson Lavelle wore that day are now displayed in a museum just feet from where Oswald shot the president. Lavelle accepts his place in history and history's judgment. Did you feel that you failed in your duty to protect him?
Well, evidently he died, didn't he? So I don't say I failed.
It's a story Kate Grinling grew up hearing. Lavelle's granddaughter, now a filmmaker, decided 3 years ago to document her grandfather's story.
As I started to interview his colleagues and reporters from back then and learn more and more about the whole incident, a larger story started to stand out to me.
The prime suspect, 24-year-old Lee Oswald of Dallas.
In the documentary Capturing Oswald, premiering this coming week, Grinling focuses her lens on what she believes is an overlooked feat of detective work by Dallas police.
When you look at some more recent events, the Unabomber and the Boston bombers, how long it took to find the alleged perpetrators, it's pretty astounding that back in 1963, without the walkie-talkies, without the GPS, that they were able to capture Oswald in 88 minutes.
And on that point, Jim Lavelle agrees. Dismissing the various theories, he is certain the man he came face-to-face with and who died before his eyes planned and carried out the assassination of President Kennedy by himself. The cops had their man. Could you have imagined that 50 years later you would still be telling this story?
I couldn't imagine it back then. In fact, if anybody had asked me right after it happened how long it'd be in the news, I said, give it 6 months and you won't hear anything else about it.
Well, you were wrong.
Yes, I was. I was wrong about it.
As we approach November 22nd, we invite you to stay with NBC News as we look back to the assassination of President John F. Kennedy 50 years later.